is the total list we have. Does everybody put the name of the list you want yours on?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Well, you can check for mine now.
Okay, well then put me down and then if I don't show girl actions.
Okay.
Or something, you might show that.
That's your plan?
It's the restaurant list, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So we have to plan dinner at 11 o'clock. Who are we missing? Yeah. Okay. No, we are still missing a bunch of people. There is one thing about this that you got to kind of look at. Okay, you cannot accomplish it by lying, which is the favorite way to do things in this world, isn't it? Just lie and say it's done. Won't work. X just does not hear your lies. You're only talking to yourself when you lie. And this is something that you gotta kind of do with life, okay? You gotta do it with X. You doing it on your own doesn't even make sense. I mean, that's the whole point of this, is that it's two things working together, okay? So you can't do this by lying. You've gotta actually see something good in the situation, even if it takes you hours to find it, okay? You've got to find it for real. And if you can't, that's fine. It may well be that just the act of looking for it might do something for all you know. I mean, if I look at what is, okay, the first little knee-jerk reaction is to see something wrong with it and to picture how it ought to be. That's fine. But if I start spending time paying attention to what is, looking for something good in it, haven't I moved the value off of this already? So I've already sort of partly accomplished what I set out to do, which is to stop having these separate. At least they're working together because I'm looking for it. You understand? I don't know if you have to accomplish it every single time. Just the mere effort of working at it is doing something. But if you're going to accomplish it by pretending, by lying, you're not doing it. And that is one of our favorite games, we humans, isn't it? To claim that something is done long before it is. You know, one of the favorite things we do? Just lie and say, yeah, I did that. That's not going to work here. I can lie to me. I don't quite understand why I can do that so well, but I can lie to myself really, really good. Huh? But I don't know if I can lie to X. I've never been able to accomplish that. Have you ever tried reporting that you want something you don't want to X? Anybody here ever tried that? You think you should want something, so you work really hard to report to X that you want such and such?
I wanted to quit smoking.
Huh?
I wanted to quit smoking.
Okay, there you go. So you've tried it. How did it work?
I did.
Yep, that's exactly what I expected. You know what? He didn't hear a word you were saying. That doesn't work. I really suspect that anybody who's tried it knows that doesn't work. You don't hear a word you're saying. And I do believe that's why people come to me a lot and say, how do you report to X? Because there is no how to it. You just do it by being here. I don't know what to tell people when they say that. I know what they've got to be asking me. How do I lie to X? And I don't know. I don't know how to do that. If you really want to lie to X, I would recommend that you get someone else to do it for you. Because I don't think you will be able to. And I'm saying it so it's funny, but I'm actually dead serious. If you really want X to know something about you that is a lie, get somebody else to do it for you. They can do it without any problems because they don't think it's important, and you do. And as long as you're making a big deal out of it, you can't do it. But somebody else could. Because they don't much care one way or the other, do they?
What happens in that case? It's a very interesting situation.
Most of the time, if you talk to somebody who actually is capable of doing it, it'll come about. 'Cause they can do it without making it important, without making a big deal out of it, and it gets done. So, yeah.
Phil, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Tracy wanted to give up smoking. She
Yeah.
reported to X.
Right.
She wanted to give up
Now, if
smoking.
she'd been smart, she would have gone to somebody else and said, would you tell X for me that I don't want to smoke anymore?
Because she really didn't want to get
Because I don't believe it. But you can tell him that for me.
I like smoking.
So it was a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, why report when you didn't really want to do it?
She wasn't.
It just sounded like a good idea to quit smoking.
Don't you get it? She wasn't. You can't do that. So she wasn't reporting that she wanted to do it. You can't do that. She was just playing a mind trip. It was all in her head. Two nod eyes got together and had a fight. And Trey was the battleground. One nod eye said, you shouldn't smoke. And another nod eye said, but I like smoking. And they had a little fight for how long?
2 days.
That's not bad. I'm impressed, actually. I would have expected it to rage a lot longer than that. No, there was no reporting going on. That was all private in her head. All X knew was that she was upset about something for a while. Had no clue what was going on. Because she was busy being involved with a couple of nod eyes having a fight. You should stop smoking. It's not good for you. People would like you more if you didn't stink of cigarettes. And I can just hear the other nod eye. I have a right to smoke. I like smoking. Anybody who thinks I stink because I smoke cigarettes, I don't want them in my life. They're scum. Isn't that about the way it went?
That's about the way it went.
A and B just had a little fight in her head. All X knew was that she was very disturbed for a couple of days. That's it. That's all she managed to report. Is that she was very disturbed about something, and I'm sure X was trying to calm her down. That's about it. You can't lie with your feelings. And that's what X hears. And you can't do that. Because you don't have direct control over feelings, do you? You can control your thoughts to a limited extent. You have that ability. You cannot control the way you feel because they are a secondary reaction, you understand? And I cannot control something that is the outcome of another thing. Feelings are the result of how I think and believe about this situation. So the only way that I can change a feeling is to change the way I see this situation.
That's how you control feelings.
Well, if it's not really control, though, honestly, but that's the only way you can change them. You've got to change the way you see it, because that's what they are. They're the outcome of how you see this moment. So you can't control them. You can change what they're from. You can change the way you see this moment, and then they'll change. But you can't keep on seeing this moment as yucky and then feel good about it. You can't do it. You can't decide that this moment is wonderful and get depressed. Can you? I can't look at this moment and say, wow, this is really neat. I think I'm going to go sit down and be sad. You can't do it, can you? In order to sit down and be sad, you're going to have to think about something horrible, aren't you? So that you start seeing this moment as something bad, huh? I mean, that's called method acting these days, isn't it?
This is a very serious question. If you...
Can I make light of it?
Sure.
Okay.
If you want if you really want, if you want to change something, you want to look into it until you see the good in it, and that changes it. That changes how you feel about it, which changes it. I think that's...
Well, if I see something different, then poof, it changes. From my point of view. Now, truthfully, it didn't change at all, did it? It's still exactly what it was a second ago. It's just that I'm seeing it differently, okay? I mean, we experience things through our point of view. And the facts of the matter don't really change, but the way I experience it changes if I see it differently. Okay, that's number one. So, whether or not the situation itself will change just because I changed my point of view, I don't know if that's true or necessarily so. Sometimes it does happen, but I'm not going to guarantee it. The way I experience it will be different. But what is true, I don't know if it just magically like transforms the situation, okay? But what is true is the first thing I said. When I see value in this, I allow life to respond to it. And life can do anything it wants. And so you may see a dramatic change, not by magic, but because something was done about the situation. And that response comes from life. It does not come out of the stored canned knowledge up here that doesn't know how. It comes from life itself. And life can do just about anything. X is not stupid. If you tell him that your life is in danger, he kind of knows what to do about it. You really don't need to sit there and freak out in order for somebody to know that you're really serious, you'd like to survive this situation, okay? It just isn't necessary. X is not stupid. If you say, it's good that my life is in danger, he's not going to say, good, then die then. That isn't the outcome you want, is it? Just because you see something good in a life-threatening situation doesn't mean that what you want to be the outcome is death, does it? I mean, I've been held at gunpoint before. That's happened. And I looked at this and said, this is good. Because I did not want to freak out and give those people a good reason to shoot me. But believe me, I was not saying this is good, I'm about to die. I can find something good in it. That doesn't mean I want to die. Did I ever tell you the favorite story about this? And I'll never forget this one. Fortunately, it happened after there was a bit of awareness in life, but one time in business, many, many years ago, I was involved in, we let a client in after hours. The place was in a rather dangerous part of the city. We always kept it locked. And this time, the person who let the client in after hours forgot to lock the door after them. So we're all sitting there talking about a job they wanted done overnight. And in come these two guys with masks on their face and sawed-off shotguns because we forgot to lock the door. We were all broke. I didn't have any money on me. It turned out none of the employees had any money. Even the client was broke that particular day. This is a touchy situation, isn't it? Because I have noticed that people who do a really dangerous thing like robbing, it sort of ticks them off when they find out they went to all that work and risked their life and for nothing, and they have a tendency to blame you. So I kind of looked at the situation and I said, ooh, we're going to have to be really careful here. And then on top of it, I'll never forget this part, the client decided that this was a practical joke that I was pulling on them, that I got a kick. I'll never forget that. I don't know who they thought I was, that I thought would think such a thing is funny. But they actually believed this was a practical joke. So here I stand, I'm looking at these two guys, all I can see is their eyes, and you know what I see in their eyes? Fear. They are terrified, and they've got sawed-off shotguns in their hands. So what goes through this head is, I better be in charge now. I cannot allow anyone in this room to run this situation because they're all buffoons. And we'll end up dead. So I did. I kind of took over. They said get on the floor. I made sure everybody was on the floor lickety-split, including that stupid client who thought it was a joke. I helped her get on the floor. I helped them do everything they wanted to do. I finally told them, you know, there's a safe in the other room. I'll give you the combination. I knew it was empty, by the way, because they were pretty upset when they found out that they'd done all this for about $5. Most of us had, I even found out that one of the employees had accidentally left their wallet in their car that particular night. So I told them where the safe was, and they said, why don't you lock us in the bathroom while you rifle the safe? So you don't have to worry about us, which they did, because I knew that this was the weirdest bathroom you'd ever want to see, and it had a door to the outside, and I had the key. So they locked us in the bathroom, and I went over to the door and unlocked it and walked down the street and called the cops. Now believe me, I was not reporting to X. I'd like to die here. Quite differently. I was reporting to X throughout that entire thing. I do not want to die. And I am with a bunch of idiots who at the drop of a hat will get us all killed. Okay? So bluntly, the good in the situation as far as I was concerned is, thank goodness I'm here, because I'm going to be in charge of this situation. I'm going to run the show. These people think they're going to run it because they have shotguns, but they're not. I am. And weirdly enough, that's what I saw the good was. This is neat. I am taking over. Give me 2 seconds and I'm in charge. It was fun. It was really kind of interesting, running a whole bunch of silly human beings for a half hour or so until we ended up in the bathroom. It was fascinating. It was an interesting experience. I kind of had a ball. Finding good in a situation doesn't mean it has to stay the same. It just means I look and I see something good in it. And the good that I saw is, thank goodness, I know how to stay here and not turn into a scared rabbit, like I suspect is going on with everybody else in this room, including the people with the guns. I found that very interesting. And to be honest with you, that's when I knew everything was okay. That's when I decided that I knew what was good in this situation. They were afraid of me. Now I'm in charge. Everything's fine here now. When I looked in their eyes and I saw that they were afraid of me, I knew we were fine, as long as we didn't do anything stupid. I'll never forget that. That was the moment when I looked at the situation and said, aha, I see what's good here. They're afraid of me! I know what that means. That means I'm in charge. If you're afraid of me, I'm running the show. You think you're in charge because you think you have got power over me, but you don't because you're afraid of me. And that was the moment when I knew everything, as long as we didn't do something stupid, was going to be okay. And that was where I saw good in this situation. All right, these guys are afraid. It also makes it deadly. But that's the good in it, interestingly enough. The good in it was not, I'm glad this happened. I was praying for this for weeks. It was just that I kept looking at the situation until I saw something in it of value. And the value was a weird little thing like that. The people who are hand-holding me at gunpoint are afraid of me. Now I know this can work out. As long as I stay in charge. Because, there is the potential here that one of these dorks that I'm with will do something stupid and we'll all get killed. So I gotta be in charge. I gotta run the show. There was no panic, no fear, none of those things. There was too much attention being paid in every moment to make sure somebody wasn't doing something stupid, and to see if I could find some way to kind of manipulate events so I could get us out of there. There was just no time for any of those weird emotions and stuff, okay? And it all worked out fine. Somehow or another, every time a little crisis would come up and we were in danger, actually find a response for it. Until finally, like I said, it occurred to me that I could lie to them about this safe and use their fear of us to lock us in a room that had an exit. The only reason they agreed to that is because they were afraid of us. And they didn't like having us sort of moving around while they were in another room doing things, you see, because they were afraid of us. So they bought this stupid suggestion, lock us in a bathroom that has an exit. That sounded great because they didn't know it had an exit. I'm not quite sure what you're hearing when you hear the idea of see something good in everything. I don't mean, I probably don't mean exactly what you think I mean, but there is always something of value in every situation that comes along. I don't know what would have happened in that little dangerous moment if I hadn't seen anything of value in it, I think I would have been very afraid, I suspect. And might have done something stupid enough to get a bunch of us killed. So what the good is that you find is not necessarily, this is exactly how I wanted it. It's just keep looking until somewhere in this experience you find something good in it. Not, this is exactly what I wanted and oh wonderful and so on, okay? Nobody says, seeing good in things doesn't mean that you have to suffer and be mistreated and all that kind of stuff. Just put up with whatever anybody wants to shove your way. That's not what it means. It just means somewhere in this situation there is something good for you. And you don't see it because you're too busy looking at how you think it ought to be. It would have been the druthers. If I'd been given the choice, I would have preferred not to go through that. And we did try to prevent it. We did lock the doors normally to keep folks like that out. We didn't like put up a sign saying, please come rob us tonight. Okay? We even actively worked to prevent that particular experience. But now that it's here, you understand? Now that it's here, I'm not going to fight and say this shouldn't be and get upset and do all that stuff that we normally do. I am going to look and say, is there anything I can find of value in this so that I can respond to what is? Because I cannot respond to it when I don't see anything of value in it. Go ahead.
And what really made this click for me is that you're not just making this up. You're not infinitely smart.
No.
There really is something very good in it for you.
That's right.
That's the absolute, unambiguous truth of the universe.
That's right.
Just when you, and see it on your own terms, see your own, find that channel for you to grow. When you see that viscerally.
That's right.
Boom.
That's exactly right. It is what I see. It's not just a little mental mind trip, okay? No matter how difficult it is to find, look for it. It's in there somewhere, always. So far, I have yet to have an experience come this way that didn't have something in it that was good for me. That has never happened. I didn't always see it. But looking back, which is a pretty common thing for us to do, isn't it? We go through an experience kicking and screaming, hating every second of it, and then a year later we look back and then go around telling everybody, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Too bad you didn't know what was happening, huh? Because then you wouldn't have had to do all that horrible drama stuff. How many times have you heard that from people, huh? Yeah, that terrible event, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Look what came out of it. Well, why didn't you know that then? You could have. You could have. In that moment, when that terrible thing was happening, you could have seen something in it. And you wouldn't have had to have gone through it, hating every second of it. And the outcome would have been the same. You still would have gotten the neat thing that happened. Yes, ma'am.
In the context, it still can be painful though, even
Sure.
if you see good in it.
Absolutely.
So pain is not.
This is not a magic trick that undoes anything I don't like about a situation. Yeah. If it's painful, seeing the value of it for me won't necessarily take the pain away. Although it has been the experience that it lessens it, because when you resist pain, it hurts a lot more, doesn't it? I learned that stubbing the toe. I learned it being a fry cook, actually. It was the first place I learned it. I'm clumsy, and I was a fry cook for a while. So I was constantly splattering the body with grease, because I really am a klutz. And I was going home with burns every single day. And I found that out. If I get upset about this and I resist it and I stew about it, they hurt for hours. And if I look and say, oh, I burned myself again, and forget about it, that's exactly what happens. It hurts for a few minutes and then it's over with. So it often will lessen the pain, because a lot of the pain comes from hating the pain. That makes it worse. But it doesn't just make it vanish. Yeah.
And pain allows you to see things in yourself that you've never seen before, that
Like
have been
I'm a
hidden
klutz.
from you.
Like I'm a klutz.
Right.
That's exactly
Or
right.
anything.
Like, I think I need to pay a lot of attention, because I'm a klutz. I can't put French fries into a fryer without throwing the oil everywhere else. Everybody else seems to be able to do that, but not me, so I better pay attention. Yep. You learn a lot of interesting things from pain. I don't mind being a klutz. It just means I got to pay a little more attention than everybody else, that's all. Somewhere along the line, I kind of really got it through my head. You really are as clumsy as everyone says you are. They're not just making this up. You really are a klutz, Phil. Okay, fine, then I'll just pay a little more attention, that's all. I can't just walk around in my sleep like everybody else, because I'll trip and fall and break. That's no problem. Are there any questions or comments? I hope I've at least gotten across the idea. I know how stupid the not-eyes are. They'll hear this and say, you mean I gotta be glad this happened? No, that's not what I said. I just said that if you look somewhere in it, there will be something of value to you. And you're still more than welcome to work to get rid of it. Nobody says you gotta keep it. Nobody says you gotta, but find something of value in it. And you can still work to get rid of it. But it will be an entirely different experience if you do it seeing something good in it than it will if you just hate the experience. Either way, you're going to work to get rid of it. But you can do it real differently when you're doing it consciously and working with the experience, because you see something good in it for you. I've kind of lived dangerously in this life. Not so much anymore. I'm getting old and lazy. But for many years, I lived quite dangerously, and I've had a lot of events that I suspect would be just outrageously traumatic to most people. I mean, I've seen what happens to people when they just come home and their house has been robbed and they weren't even there. To me, that's not near as traumatic as having somebody pointing a shotgun at you, robbing you, okay? Just coming home and finding out it happened, I'd be sort of overjoyed, like, thank goodness I wasn't here, but I've seen what it does. I mean, people collapse. Some people just collapse and say, oh my God, I've been violated. They came into my home and they rifled through my things and I'm never safe anywhere anymore. It's like, who the hell ever said you were? What's your point? So I can see what happens when people can't find any good in it. And then some truly kind of dangerous or traumatic event happens and you can't handle it, can you? You just go into not-I hell, demanding to know why for day after day after day, locked in this tight, as programmers would say, for loop with no exit to it, repeating the same thing over and over again. That's what happens, isn't it? Why did this happen to me? 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 I've seen people do that for years. Like, I don't care why it happened to me if I found something good in it. You only ask that question if you think it's bad, don't you? Somebody comes up to you and they bring you a lovely ice cream cone, and you look at them and say, why did this happen to me? Well, maybe if you're on a diet, you'd do that. Isn't that about right? But that's about the only reason I can think of anybody would ever say, why did this happen to me? Why did somebody bring me an ice cream cone? You gotta hate something to decide to ask, why did it happen? I don't know too many people who ask why good things happened. You do that very often? Why did this really neat thing happen to me? I don't get it. What did I do to deserve this? You don't go into that insane trauma trip, okay? Any other questions or comments? I just think this is so simple, an idiot could do it. I don't think we need to make this whole thing really hard and complicated and so on. I really do think you can kind of cut it down to some very simple things that just about anybody could do if they wanted to. Yeah, that's going to be the rub, isn't it, is deciding that I actually want to do this. But I don't think it's hard. I'm going to try this weekend to take all the ways that the Noddites will try to pervert it. That's kind of the point of this one. They're going to try and tell you, you have to like the entire situation. You have to just see this situation is just the best thing that ever happened, or you didn't do what he said. Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to put this into words, but I'm a little confused about, when you see a situation and you personalize it, and then, it's really better sometimes to think about, well, it's really not about me, it's about somebody else.
That's not what I mean by saying see something good about it, is claim that it's about me.
Well, I guess I was saying that you're making everything about you if you see something good in it, or not.
I am?
I mean, some situations are, it's, rather than personalizing it, you realize it's not about you at all.
Yeah. But I am in the middle of it, aren't I? Even if it isn't about me. I mean, I can take a pretty common example in this life. I go to a restaurant, I walk in and the waiter hates me. And is surly through the entire experience of getting food and so on and so on and so on, right? It's not a particularly pleasant experience, is it? But I think we've all had it, haven't we? Now, honestly, that probably is not about me at all. I suspect that it has nothing to do with anything that I did, that the waiter was probably in that mood before I arrived and had to do with the fact that his girlfriend refused to have sex that morning or something. Something I don't know anything about. For all I know, he's got a bellyache or a tummy or a headache or something. You get what I'm saying? I can sit there if I want, stew about what did I do to deserve this. I thought I was treating him nice. Why did he take an instant dislike to me? That's what I mean about making it about me. It's just seeing events that have no relationship to anything I did and claiming that I'm the cause. To me, that's where people make everything about me. Of course, I have to be the cause of this. I'm important. It couldn't be that you were like this before I even showed up and don't even know I'm here. How could you not know I'm here? But that's kind of the truth. That waiter may not even realize you're here. He's so wrapped up in his own problems. Isn't that about right? The only thing you are to him is an irritation, because he'd rather be doing something else. It's not about me. But I'm going through the experience, aren't I? And it's not a particularly pleasant experience, is it? And I don't see why, since I'm in the experience, I can't find something good in it for me. Even though what's going on that disturbs me is not about me. But I do not see why. I can't look at the situation and say, I'm going to find something good in it for me. That's not making it about me. That's just being honest and saying, I'm here, and I don't see any reason why I shouldn't live a life for me. What's wrong with that?
You find something good in it?
Yeah, always. If nothing else, there's a fallback on people and their peculiar behavior. As far as I'm concerned, all the time, I would like to be able to love people. What an excellent opportunity. I figure if I can love a waiter like that, I can love about anybody, because they're pretty unlovable if you ask me. I consider it a challenge. It's a neat challenge. Can I sit here and let this person treat me like dirt and love them for doing it? I like that challenge. I'd sort of like to be able to leave here. I don't know if I'm going to accomplish it or not, but I would like to see if I can leave here having said, by the time I left, I could love anyone and anything. That's one of the things I'd like to accomplish in this life, okay? I ain't there yet. But I like working at it, because I really would like to be able to say that. So that's the whole thing of why I am making a big deal about seeing something good in it for you. 'Cause I don't know what that's going to be for you. I can talk about my own point of view, and that might be what I would often see in a situation like that, but maybe that don't do it for you, so look for something that's for you.
But that wouldn't be, pretty soon this is going to be over. That can't be one of them.
Sure, it can be that. If that's what it is, I'm not going to judge. I'm really not going to judge what it ought to be, okay? If that's what you see good in the situation, is that it's going to end, I can understand that. I've been there a few times. The only thing good I can see in this situation is that it won't last forever. Okay, well, I found something good in it anyway. I'm really not gonna judge. I've done that one myself. So I don't know if it's good or bad or not, but it kind of gets you through some moments. Why not? See, I made a big deal out of something good for you, because that really is what you need to do. You need to see something in it. When I say good, I don't necessarily mean gainful, okay? Like I'm going to get something, a reward or something. But I've got to see something that I personally value in this situation, okay? Which isn't necessarily a reward. Okay. Like when I found something that I valued in those people robbing us, honestly, what I found was that I was going to get to keep my life. It wasn't that I was going to get something really neat out of it, and I didn't even know when I first realized that their fear was going to let me get through this, that I was going to end up calling the cops on them. I didn't know that. That was not planned. That was all one of those kind of spontaneous things you do as you go along. There was no planning and any of that. I didn't know that. So I didn't, there was no thought like, I'll get mine. I just wanted out of alive. Really. That's all I wanted. Just I'd kind of like to be here tomorrow. So I really don't care how we get to that point. What happens? I just thought it was funny at the end of the whole thing that they ended up getting arrested. Yeah.
I remember when you talked about the scientific method at length and about how you don't really know anything
Right.
unless you work with it and experience it for yourself.
And even then I don't know it. I can only be knowing something. I'm always open to the idea that new information could come along that proves something I already knew wrong. So honestly, I'm always knowing something.
In any situation, anything, for me, is at least an opportunity to observe it really, and it's going to tell me something about me that I'm glad to know.
Yep. Yep, that's exactly right. I always find something. Always. I don't have a moral issue, by the way, with being selfish. So it really doesn't bother me to say I'm going to look for something good for me in it. I don't have a moral issue with that. The thing that I have trouble with in humanity is not selfishness. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. I think it's just sort of built in and intrinsic, and we might as well make the best of it, because I don't think it's going to change. I'm selfish. I'm not sure I would want to be anything but selfish. That's just the way it goes. The thing that makes life here so unpleasant is really not selfishness, folks, it's greed. You understand that? It's not people's selfishness that makes them so unpleasant, it's their greed. Because in their greed, they will do the most heinous things, won't they? A selfish person would never do. Because no selfish person would want to go through the consequences of the crud that you folks are willing to do to pursue greed. Anybody who's actually selfish would look at it and say, the price for that is so expensive, I ain't touching it. I don't care how bad I want it. It's not worth it. You think it's to my advantage to live with a bunch of people who hate my guts? Would I selfishly do that? Do things to really disturb all the people around me? Out of pure selfishness, I won't do it. Because there's no fun being around people who are disturbed with me. But a greedy person has no trouble doing it at the drop of a hat, huh? I want what I want. And they don't even think about the fact that maybe if they stand there demanding it from you and beating you up for it for the next 4 hours that you're going to be held to live with for a week, they don't care. That's not selfishness that does that, it's greed. A selfish person actually tends to be fairly considerate of those around them because they're so selfish they want you to be good company. So they didn't treat you nice, so you'll treat them better. You get what I'm saying? It's not selfishness that, as far as I can see, that makes life here so unbearable. It's greed. I'm willing to do anything to get this. And that's greed, that's not selfishness. A selfish person really would not do those things because they care too much about themselves. So as far as I can see, one of the best ways to live is what one might call enlightened selfishness, where you expand the concept of selfishness just a little bit with a little bit of light and understanding. And you realize that if you go around mistreating everybody, you are probably going to get mistreated, and you're not doing a very good job of being selfish, are you? And that we might be able to look at the part of us that is selfish and see something really wonderful in it. That may be where consideration could grow from. I don't think it's going to grow out of greed. Out of greed, I get people cutting me off on the freeway all the time because they're in a rush and they're more important than I am, huh? I don't know any selfish person would do that because it's stupid and dangerous, isn't it? What if the person isn't paying attention when you cut right in front of them and they kill you? Like, what selfish person would do that? Only a greedy idiot would do something like that and then just expect that you're paying enough attention to keep from killing them. Doesn't that happen here in Houston? It sure does in Los Angeles. The people just pull right in front of you and they just expect that you're paying enough attention that you'll slam on the brakes and keep from killing them. That doesn't happen here? Now, what selfish person would do that? I don't really want to trust you to be paying enough attention to save my life. Well, greed does that. Self-importance does that, not selfishness. See, we have trouble with greed here, don't we? As best I can tell, the essence of what's called society here is how to curb greed. And every society on this planet has a slightly different way of doing it, doesn't it? And that's what makes for all the so-called social differences between different peoples, is how they try to deal with the fact that greed is a horrible thing. But we can't do away with it. So we have to accept it, and then we have to find some way to put restraints on it. Isn't that about what's going on? And so we have all accepted greed. We have to come up with another word for the bad stuff that comes from greed, and I think we just call it selfish without really thinking about what we're doing. Greed seems to be one of those things that would just be kind of best to chuck. Get rid of. About the only value I can see in greed is that it got me to get conscious enough to learn how to get rid of it.
And that's not trivial.
No, it's not. Because boy, did I suffer from the greed until I finally got that point. And so there was great value in that as far as I'm concerned, to get to the point where I could see the uselessness of it and just drop it one day. And the amount of growth and change that had to happen to get to that point was quite valuable to me. So I'm glad that I developed greed just like everybody else here. I'm really glad that I decided to look into it. And boy, am I glad that it's gone. It's like those other things where people look back at really terrible experiences that they hated all through the experience and they say, you know what, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Greed was the best thing that ever happened to me amongst many other best things, because it taught me some really neat things that I needed to learn. Any other questions or comments? Did I kind of get to the heart of your question? Good. Good.
So what's the definition of greed?
The incessant desire for more, better, and different. No matter what I get, I always want more, and I always want it to be better, and I always want it to be different. It is never okay the way it is. How many times, for those of you who are willing to play the relationship game, how many times have you been told, you don't love me for the right reason? Oh, I'm sorry, I guess it's just not enough that I love you. Now you have to have it for a different reason, huh? What is that but greed? You can't be satisfied being loved. You have to be loved for the right damn reason. And so now you start going after that person, trying to control them into loving you for the right reason. Now there is a lovely experience, isn't it? That's a lot of fun, isn't it? Have somebody trying to control your reasons for loving them. That comes from greed, not from selfishness.
Isn't it wanting to value the same thing? You don't value what I value in myself.
So, I don't expect you to. You're not me. You're different than me. I would be shocked and probably horrified if I found out you valued everything the same as me, because what fun would you be if you were just like me? I'd be bored to death with you in 2 minutes. I'd know everything you're going to say, everything you were going to think. We'd have no fun at all, would we? I sort of expect that you value things differently than I. That's not what I want from a relationship. I don't want a clone. I want a companion who is delightful and interesting. And it's not delightful and interesting when I can predict everything you're going to do. Not to me, anyway. Honestly, if that's what a person is seeking in a relationship, I don't think they want a relationship. I think they want to accept themselves and they don't know how. And so they're using everybody around them to try and accomplish something that can actually only be done in here, and that's a very unpleasant situation. Using me to try and accept yourself is just going to put us both through hell, I suspect, and probably not work. But if you've already done that and kind of looked at yourself and said, you know, I'm generally pleased, I accept me as I am. Doesn't mean I have to like every little detail, but overall I'm generally pleased. I don't know if that's what I'd be doing, is walking around looking for a clone. I think I'd be looking for, honestly, somebody who's a little bit different, so we'd have some pizzazz here, and not just say, yeah, I know, I like jam. You like that jam, and I like my toast with that jam on it, and maybe you like your toast. If I ever met anybody with exactly the same attitude I have, I'd be shocked. I really would. I'd be shocked. I thought I was special. I thought I was unique. You'd kind of upset me. Damn, you're just like me? That's no fun. I wanted to be unique. It could happen, but it will be a bit of a blow. I'm going to be a bit disturbed if it ever occurs. Any other questions or comments? I don't hold my breath. You were going to say something? Okay. Well, lunchtime? Let's have lunch.
House calls, a restaurant.